demo right now that everybody's trying to market to, and sort of understanding very basic points, I think, is a premise of how certain companies are succeeding really well. So a few of the points that I made, one of them are like, try to be cooler than our parents, at least, stuff like that. I think there's a few brands that are really nailing it and a few that are failing miserably. And of course, we know the few that are, like Sony, Microsoft. Pardon? Brands. Sorry.
Sorry, I thought you said brands.
No, brands. Sorry, yes, we are brats too, if you want to. But yeah, we're very peculiar as a demo. We know what we want, and we know that we have the control as well. So never before in history has a certain demographic had so much communicative power in the palm of their hands. I mean, with us, literally with a tap of a finger, we can broadcast a message to thousands of our friends, in mid-bite about how horrible this dish is, and we could basically slander your brand in like a quarter of a second. And so this is a generation where that type of power exists, and brands recognize that, but fail to actually try to make use of it in a way that sort of uses the real-time essence of it. As marketers, we've been using very anachronistic methods like numerical age, like, you're 18 to 24, you're above 24, whatever. But I think at the end of the day, the types of things that we should be looking at in the youth demographic are our behavior. I think the fact that we are sharing more prolifically, where there are actually older people that have that same type of behavior pattern, the fact that the 45 to 55 is the fastest growing segment on Twitter is just, absolutely fastest growing. So caution. So it's fastest growing. It's not the biggest, but it's the fastest growing. So just fascinating facts like that. You see how I think it's the youthful activity and the behavior of this demographic which is becoming so attractive to marketers. I don't think it's actually the demo itself by the youth, if you know what I mean. So I think when we get older, we're going to grow with our habits. I'm sure they'll change based on the type of technology and emerging media that might reveal itself in the next 10 years. But if I were to look at it now, ceteris paribus, seeing how we are behaving as youth online, and the fact that there's segments that are way older than us that are doing the same type of behavior, like sharing photos and liking stuff on Facebook, and the fact that an average user on Facebook shares about 70 items per month. I mean, these types of things are fascinating. I think at the end of the day, too, is that there's a lot of younger entrepreneurs that have taken these ideas, have gone beyond the initial hump, which is usually, having the social validation, the mentorship, the people to help them push it forward, the funding, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and are at this point right now where they're looking for an audience. And I'm glad, though, that there's a change in this industry at the moment where, because of cool things coming out of very young people that have changed the world literally in a heartbeat, like Chat Roulette, where people are now realizing that we have a very significant, palpable power in order to be able to make something very small and actually change a lot in the world. And so because of that, I think a lot of people are paying more serious attention. So I have one line that I usually deliver all the time, and that is, you are the greatest force in your life. I think a lot of younger entrepreneurs forget that you don't actually need a lot of help in order to do something. And the thing is, if you actually do need help, you should ask for it. Because if you don't ask for help, no one will know how to help you, right? So a lot of it, too, is most of the barriers that we have in our minds when we try to start things are mental barriers. These are barriers that we create. And frankly, these are limits that we've also been told. It's been drilled into our head, right? We should be afraid of failure, right? We should avoid failure, The grade system, for example. Don't get an F. It's failure, bad, Slam, So we've been primed to avoid it. But I think, what I do ultimately that pushes them off is I'm like, listen, hey, like when I wanted to go and start something, especially so last year I created a Twitter tool called Follow Formation. And it got a ton of press. Like it was on Mashable, Fast Company, Huffington Post, you name it. People were like, how did you get all of this press, right? I didn't wait for them to come to me. I basically emailed 200 some odd reporters with a very poor pitch email, when I first launched. And I kept track of everybody that I was keeping in touch with. But it was sort of a genuine message saying, hey, listen, I have something that I really want to share. I don't really know how to pitch. I'm not a PR person. But, this is something that I think is really valuable to the social media space, and you should take a look at it. And very few people realize that I actually did it myself, and over the so what I did was actually shot emails out at like 5 in the morning every day. Reason why is because on East Coast time, that's 9 a.m., right? And that's the reason why people would answer their emails is because they were, in the cab or in the car before they reached the office, and they'd be on their BlackBerry and they'd be checking out the emails. And so I basically, for the course of a week, woke up that early just to shoot out pitch emails to make sure that people knew and were getting the emails. And it worked. People basically replied within like 1 or 2 minutes, and I took quick calls while they were in the cab or in the car or in the subway to work, and it worked really well. But then people usually see this, and we have this, the world has this dynamic of when someone's successful or something happens that's successful, it's very sexy to attribute it to the overnight success thing, right? That they did it all themselves, and they pioneered this, and it was them alone. It wasn't just that.